Could I have your attention, please? Thank you. First of all, then, welcome to all councillors, officers, and members of the public to the meeting of our full council this evening. A reminder, please, would you kindly switch off your mobile phones or switch on to silent? There are members of the public and councillors attending this meeting virtually. Can I please ask those who are attending virtually to switch off your microphone to avoid any disruption during the meeting. This meeting is being recorded as usual and will be available in due course on the council's YouTube channel. Reminder for councillors to ensure that those attending virtually can hear the proceedings and for the recording to capture the entire meeting, please ensure that you project your voice and speak clearly. Please remember it's a formal meeting and therefore do not refer to each other by first name. We'll try to remember that. Please be aware that the contents displayed on your iPad or laptop may be seen by other members or members of the public attending the meeting. Therefore, please close down screens which are displaying confidential information during the public part of the meeting. In the event of fire or fire alarm, there is no fire alarm planned, and therefore, upon hearing the fire alarm, please promptly leave the building by the nearest exit. Meet the officials clerk of the meeting at the assembly point, which is located in the car park at the front of the building. This is about halfway up the car park and is marked with a sign. Please remain at the assembly point until you're instructed otherwise and do not leave this location. All officers and councillors are required to remain on site until instructed otherwise. So we have, ladies and gentlemen, quite a long agenda tonight, so I would appreciate it if you can, when you speak, be to the point and not sort of waffle on too long. Otherwise, we might get locked in because I think the gate's going to be closed at 8:45, or earlier than that.
8:30, but 8:30, I think.
8:30, so we need to finish by then, okay? So going straight on to the agenda. We have apologies for absence, please.
Thank you, Chair. I received apologies from Councillors Bell, Bushell, Can, Dawson, Youssef, David Knight, and Councillor Maddox and Milton will be joining the meeting virtually, but will be unable to vote, Chair.
Okay, thank you. The second item.
Chair, sorry, Will Tops has message to say he's at a problem at home and he'll be hoping to join us in a bit.
Okay, thank you very much. Councillor Caton. Item 2, to approve as a correct record the minutes of the meeting held on the 22nd of April 2026. I need to have a mover and a seconder, please. Councillor Rutty and Councillor York were the first ones that I saw their hands up. So all those in favour, please show. Yeah, that's unanimous for me. Thank you. So, sorry, that was a minute. Okay. So we go on to item number 3, which is the chair's announcement. First of all, then, I'd like to remind members that it's extremely important to complete the boxes modules. There's a number of councillors who haven't completed them for several months. Members, this is not an optional thing, but it's essential that we complete these modules as the threats to our ICT system, etc., are very real. They don't take long to do, so please catch up. Get them done before we have to take action to restrict members' access to their iPad. Thank you. And the second thing, a very positive note, please come to South Molton on Saturday, August the 8th. And join in what promises to be the biggest festival the town has ever had. Obviously, we have our usual national award winning pannier market with over 90 traders with local food and crafts during the morning, but also activities from 8 in the morning until about midnight. This includes a massive art display by local artists in the assembly rooms, South Molton's talent grand final, which is live on stage, party in the park, including a skate, jam, giant circus tent, family activities all around the centre of the town, live DJ and music groups, bar and food, particularly in the afternoon and evening. But also, I wanted to say, at 11:30, we're holding a short, lively Thanksgiving and celebration service for our council.
Chairman, can I just ask what time we're finishing tonight?
I'll be a bit longer now because you're interrupted. Remembering North Devon Council since 1974 in the Methodist Church, followed by a buffet lunch. All the dignitaries, mayors, chairs of councils, etc., have been invited, and we're going to have among the guests the King of Western Ghana and his family. Yes, it's a royal occasion, and I would appreciate many North Devon councillors being there as possible, but it would be helpful if you would reply to Chloe's email about it, or even to me, so that we have enough food ordered. At the moment, we've asked for food for 100 people, but we may need to increase that. And also, we need to reserve car parking spaces because the town will be packed. We are expecting up to 3,000 people to attend, so the central car park will be overflowing. It's a super day, so I do hope that many of you will be able to join us. Okay, we're not making a charge for lunch, but if you want to make a donation, half of that will go to the North Devon Hospice, which is my charity this year. Now I want to hand over to Councillor Hunt, who also wants to announce another event.
Okay, I'm here dual-hatted, and those that have been to some of my events before, this is my 5th year doing a charity gala evening, and it's always has been for charity. And last year raised 10,000 for the charities that we did last year. And this year, because I've been dual-hatted as Vice Chair and Deputy Mayor, I'm doing the gala evening for the Chair of NDC and the Mayor of BTC. So obviously with the Chair, we got the North Devon Hospice, and the Mayor, he's got Chemo Hero and Root Cause Project. You probably would have heard of the other two, but those that don't know, Root Cause Project is grounded in experience, designed for real change. It's founded by veterans. Root Cause Project offers practical, experience-led support for the military community, built on real understanding of life during and beyond service. And those that need a bit of help, those with PTSD, that sort of thing. So, 3 worthwhile charities. This is on Saturday, September the 12th. Obviously, if you get a team of 10, it works out cheaper. If you get a table, with 10 people, it works out a lot cheaper. But I will send an email with the poster, with the QR code round to everyone the next couple of days. You can either delete, or if you fancy come in, just think, who else can I have to make that table so my ticket's a lot cheaper? Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much. Right, moving on then to item 4. Business brought forward by the consent of the chair. We haven't any, so we're going on to item 5, and this is where I'm going to invite Mr. Jeffrey Howard, if you'd like to come forward and say a few words about the question that she's put to our leader. Thank you.
Been told that I can sit a bit. Yeah, good evening, everybody.
Could you come just this way a little bit, please, sir, because unfortunately they can't see you otherwise. All right, now.
Yeah, fine. Okay, good evening, everybody. You have before you the questions that I submitted to councillor for tonight's meeting. My question arises from an article that I read in the North Devon Journal several months back, probably October. I sought the assistance of a relevant councillor in a senior position to provide me with answers to a number of questions that I wish to ask on the matter. The councillor merely advised me to seek answers to my questions through the FOI, i.e. Freedom of Information Act, which I thought wasn't very good. Another councillor in a public meeting offered to help, but withdrew the offer due to the fact that it is beyond his means to do it. There you go. The majority of the figures and information contained within my question do come from the council's FOI department, which I'm grateful to the staff involved, mainly Bev and her team. Took several weeks, probably a few months to get all this information together, going back and through with questions and then counter questions and so on. It may well be that all my concerns on the matter were considered and addressed in the various committees before they were put to council for approval. Somehow I doubt it. Certainly in the agenda and minutes of the Strategy and Resources Committee meeting on the 7th of July last year, there's no mention of any of the costings that I will bring to your attention. Yet the councillors present accepted the proposal by officers to allocate £4 million. The amount of £4 million to purchase these 15 properties is, I understand it, approximately a fifth, i.e. 20% of the annual budget, which is a huge amount. By the way, I should mention that I'm quite an experienced councillor with Slough Council for 13 years. I was chair of the Overview and Scrutiny Committee, and for 4 years the councillor, I can't think of the word now, but not the councillor, but ambassador was thinking of, but not quite, of the Resources Committee, the budget, which is about 10 times that of North Devon Council. So it was a very responsible position. I'll go through the associated costs under number 1. The appreciation in the capital values of the 18 properties previously purchased by the council since 2018. That's basically all the minutes of that agenda I mentioned talked about, i.e. the appreciating the value in the property. I thought it was a bit off, but we'll see how it pans out later. Unfortunately, as you probably all aware, the majority, if not all, of this appreciation would have disappeared in the last 12 to 18 months due to the downturn in the housing selling market of between 20 and 25%. Legal fees, £3,770.64 paid to exterior solicitors. Most legal work was met by the council solicitors. No figure was available, which there should have been, as council taxpayers were paying for the officers' time and pension contributions. Managing costs, 1 member of staff for every 20 properties. With a total of 42 properties purchased and leased before and after 2018, and now I'm unsure if this includes the 15 new properties, that is at least 2 members of staff required per year. If the 15 new properties have to be included, that is 57 properties have to be managed, requiring virtually 3 staff. These salaries obviously amounting to several tens of thousands of pounds per year, plus pension contributions, should have been made available to the council as the costs are being met by council taxpayers. Stamp duty. Shocking
Chair, point of order. I mean, I thought this was a supplementary question.
Actually, I did give the gentleman the opportunity before the meeting of just giving a bit of background, and that's what
Explain everything.
he's trying to do at the moment. But I hope that he's nearly at an end of what he has to say.
Stamp duty. Well, I think it's a big number, £163,852. Maintenance costs. This is only for 1 year, 2024, 2025. It's £44,628.42, provided by external contractors. Some maintenance work was carried out by council staff, but no figure provided, which it should have been, as this was paid for by council taxpayers, including pension contributions. Obviously, that figure could be into the hundreds of thousands before 2024 to 2025. Gas safety checks and certificates, £90 per annum per property. No figure provided for up-to-date costs, but ongoing costs are likely to be over £5,000 per annum for all the properties that they have, if they all have gas. Electrical safety checks and certificates, £200 per property every 5 years. No figure provided for up-to-date costs, but ongoing costs are likely to be over £11,000 every 5 years. EPCs, £150 per property every 10 years. No figure given for up-to-date costs. Ongoing costs are likely to be over £8,500 every 10 years. Utility bills, this is when the properties are empty. £1,637.93. So obviously that's due to the rental of the meters, if you like. That's
Yeah, well, I think we understand that there's a massive list of finances here. I think we can possibly all grasp that. I think what Mr. Howard needs to, Mr. Howard, is it?
Yeah.
Mr. Howard needs to know is the fact that the presentation that was originally made compared the cost of running these properties to the cost of hiring in hotel rooms, and buying these properties was considerably cheaper. If someone's lied to me telling me that, I'll be surprised. However, I appreciate what you're trying to say, but I don't think just reading out a list of electricity bills and all the rest of it is going to get us very much further.
I think.
3 minutes, I think.
Nearly.
Can it come to a conclusion, Chairman? So
Yeah,
that-
it's just about.
Yeah, council tax, that's for unoccupied properties was £1,905.68. The 18 properties bought in 2018, that was paid for by council taxpayers. No total for up-to-date figure given, could be tens of thousands of pounds before 2024 to 2025. Ongoing costs could also be tens of thousands of pounds.
I think the point has been made by members that you've actually made your statement concerning all the costs.
Yeah, I have now finished. Number 2 areas where the 15 properties are to be purchased has been quite.
Chair, I'm sorry, can we?
Yeah,
join
I'm afraid we can't really continue along those lines. I think we need to just hand over to the leader to respond to your questions, because you've made a lot of points about the finances, etc.
Might be to refer to David and leave a copy of it with him.
Yes, that makes sense.
Thank you, Chair. I'll respond now, and if you want to ask me a quick supplementary afterwards, by all means, then I can't answer it even on written reply to you. Can I say thank you to Mr. Howard anyway for giving myself notice of this question. The first part is really the councillors have the information, and it is my firm belief that councillors, members did have all the necessary information in our taking the informed decision to purchase additional properties. You've given us a lot of figures there. I'll give you one figure, and it's the background for why we did this. When we took this decision, there were about 100 families and individuals that we, the taxpayers, were paying for in bed and breakfast accommodation, which is not good for them, and it's not good for the council taxpayers, and something needs to be done. And we've taken action. I certainly will not sort of come along here and apologise for that action or anything like that, because I believe it was the right one. And we have a corporate plan in North Devon, and that corporate plan identifies housing as a key priority for us and for those people who suffer at the bottom of the pile within North Devon. When local taxpayers are being asked to fund the bill for the emergency temporary accommodation I just alluded to for local families, I certainly think that purchasing our own stock of housing is the right thing to do. It's the moral thing to do. Financially, yes, it's expensive, but it's the right thing to do. It means we're able to provide decent, modern, efficient and healthy homes to those in critical need at a time when they are most vulnerable. People who can't very well shout up for themselves most of the time. Whilst the properties that have been purchased have been concentrated around Barnstaple and some in Ilfracombe and South Walton, this has been a result of demand and also availability. I think yourself live in Coombe Martin, I'm there. So I thought your question might be saying, why have we not done more in some of the rural areas? And we can't do everything. You mentioned the finances, we are limited. We are looking at other areas, and hopefully in the future we can do something in those areas as well. I don't believe that the numbers purchased by the council have had a material impact on the local housing market that you referred to. I certainly haven't seen any evidence of that, and if there is evidence out there, I would like to see that, but I don't think that's the case. And as somebody said to me, if you look over at North Devon at the moment, there's a lot of properties that are up for sale. It's not had a material impact on that, I don't believe. And finally, I would like to refer to the positive feedback that we as a council have received from individuals and families who are placed in these accommodations while they're trying to secure themselves a more permanent rental situation. It's not a great situation. It's not a great situation at North Devon alongside the rest of the country are facing. It is a housing emergency. Hopefully we've done a small incremental step to relieving the issues that we find ourselves, but I certainly don't make any apologies. I certainly wouldn't want to change the policy. There might be other councillors who've got something different, but I think we were firmly together in this from all political persuasions that this was the right thing to do. So,
all I was saying that you may have had all the information, right? It was nowhere in minutes. What I'm saying, that's why I changed it.
Well, thank you very much for coming along and making your case tonight. Thank you. We're not going to have a discussion
No,
on this tonight.
it's under my portfolio, something to say and something from my portfolio point of view.
Under the constitution, there is,
Could I have the gentleman's email address and I will write to him?
that's probably the best thing, yeah.
Thank you.
Councillor Walker's in charge of finance. If you're going through email, you want to pass that on to me?
Thank you.
Okay.
Right, moving on then. Thank you very much.
Yes,
Moving on to item 6. We haven't had any motion tonight, so none received. We go on to item 7, declarations of interest.
Yes, Chair, received the following declarations of interest. Councillor Peter Lever has declared in item 18H3 non-registrable interest for transparency reasons. Councillor Wilkins has declared an interest item 18H3 other registrable interest for transparency reasons. Councillor Peter Lever has declared a non-registrable interest in item 18H3. Councillor Davies has declared a non-registrable interest for transparency reasons in item 18H3. Councillor Caroline Lever has declared non-registrable interest for transparency reasons for item 18H3. And Councillor Spear has declared a non-registrable interest for transparency reasons in item 18H3 on the agenda, Chair. Thank you.
Sorry, item 18H, I think it's 17. Non-registrable interest for myself.
I didn't hear Ben read my name on.
Apologies, Councillor Prowse. I think I read your name incorrectly. Yes, so Councillor Prowse has declared a non-registrable interest for transparency reason, item 18H3. Thank you.
Thank you. Right, moving on to item 8, chair's reply to any questions. We haven't had any this time. We move on to item 9, to agree the agenda between part A and part B. We haven't got any part B, so we move straight on to item part A, number 10, foster carers and foster caring. And I welcome Councillor Robin Julian to our meeting tonight. I'll give you 10 minutes, okay? Followed by the question. Okay. No, over to you, sir, please.
Good evening, councillors. I'm Robin Julian, as has been said, and I am the foster champion of the Devon County Council. So I've been wandering around, well, not wandering around, but going to different meetings to promote the foster care. Now, they've taken me on to promote this. It was in the doldrums when I first took hold of it. And we've worked jolly hard as Devon County and the foster carers and the Nightingale people as well. And we've worked really hard to try and turn this around. It is turning around. It's fantastic. You can be a foster carer at the age of 21 and there isn't any cut-off point. So if you've been a foster carer or you know somebody being a foster carer that is semi-retired or retired and want to take it back up, of course you can. When you go through all the criteria of being a foster carer. It is an important job. It is really a fantastic thing because these children are really vulnerable. Some of them, you know, where their families can't look after the children, so they have to go in foster homes or whatever reason it is. But these children really need the love and support to move on. Because if we don't look after the children, they're our next generation and they need support. And the foster carers, I mean, they are second to none. We've made them more professional rather than you just a foster carer. They're making them more professional. They're giving them more money. And what we want to do is try and get the district councillors to promote it. And we're trying to also, if you wouldn't mind, is because they have so many different children going to different places, if we could sort of look after them and give them sort of parking exemptions to get from A to B, because obviously it would cost an arm and a leg, and also trying to fill up the car parks, get from one job and then go to another one. It is a nightmare. So we're hoping that you might take this on board. It is critical, really. It is a fantastic thing to do. And I really do believe that if we look after these kids, and I've been to many, many meetings of the foster caring and the little children as well, of even babies right up to 5, and then the older ones. It is a challenge. It really is challenging. And they've got the people at the right at the call where they have a really good system now that should you have any challenges or any problems with the children, you just pick up the phone and they're out there 24/7 to look after and get there to help the children, because they have come from a very, very upsetting background and they just need stability. They need love. You cannot give a child too much love. You can't turn around and say to me, oh, I can't take them on because I've loved them too much. You can't have enough love. You can't have enough love. You give love to your children and you can give love if you take them on for these kids as well. I mean, if it's successful with these children and they get to a teenage years where they then end up being a parent themselves, and they could look back and think, cool, you know, I've had a jolly good relationship. I've had a happy life being fostered. I can take this on. And that's how the chain works. And then they take it on and that's how it is. We don't want the kids hundreds of miles away living with other foster parents because we don't have enough foster families here. We want them all in here. This is where their lives are. If you know, in Barnstable, if that's where the area is, wherever it may be, We need them. We're trying to get rid of all the agencies, foster agencies, because all they're doing is draining the system. We want charitable foster people and also the foster parents themselves. So we want to keep the money in, and where we can save the money, we give it to the foster parents. And that's what it is, keeping it all together and keep them either in Devon, and that's where they want to be. We want to be in Devon, that when people hear about foster children, you know, we want to be in Devon. They really do look after the kids. It is fantastic. And that is what we're trying to promote. And we've been very successful in the county, and I want to roll it out to the rest of the districts, and I'm going to do all the districts in the county. They've asked me to go around, and I'm going to promote it, because the more I promote it, because that's what they've asked me to do, the more successful we're going to be. And it really is good. I've got leaflets here, which I will leave to with whoever. Who can I leave them with? Anybody? Yes, I can leave them with the chair, and I'll leave him with leaflets and booklets, and have a read. It's fantastic. It really is. I'm really passionate about it, and even Councillor Biederman will know that I'm really on the ball on this, because obviously he's in with it as well. So, and that's all I've got to say. It is fantastic. We've got, you're going to ask them some questions, but I think if I can answer something before you even ask me, we've got 35 foster parents in Devon, in Barnstaple. 45. I think there's 2 children I think are waiting to be fostered so far. We want more, because obviously there's more children, and you know, we just want to make sure that there's nobody waiting. We don't want to be special homes or whatever to look after the children, because that's not where we want them. We want them with families. We want them to be loved. We want them to be looked after, so they feel part of it. And if you want to go on holiday with the children. I mean, we're already working on passports. So if some of the foster children, foster families, and they're taking their children on holiday abroad, then if you get a passport, they want to take the foster children on holiday. How fantastic is that? That they're taking the children on holiday. So we don't want to segregate them. We want to try and marry them together. And it has been very successful. But it's like a super tanker. You know, we come from a low ebb, really, really down 2 years ago, and we are turning it around. Hook or by crook, I'm turning this around, and I go to all the meetings. We've got special meetings for the children. They've got amusements and whatever, all foster children, and anybody else can come along as well. And I shall be there promoting it, constantly promoting it, Chair, because I think that's where we've got to do. We've got to look after these kids. We don't want them far away. We don't want them in Manchester. We don't want them in Liverpool. We want them here. We don't want them shipped out. We want to bring them back to Devon. And that's where they should be, where their unit is, where their extended families are. And we also have kinship, where suddenly some of the families have got into difficulty, and then they take the children on temporarily. I mean, we're doing we give them half of their community charge if they're doing a whole if they're full time, or half if they're doing only half of it, or weekends. I mean, I don't know how they work it all out. I'm not the finance person. I'm just saying that this is how it is, and we've had, you know, good results, and I hope that, you know, if you could spread it, councillors, spread it. Tell everybody, you know, if you want to be a foster carer, we will sort it out for you. You know, it doesn't matter who you are. They will look at everybody, and that is it. Okay. Any questions? Far away.
Yeah, can you do through the chair? So,
Sorry.
Councillor Masco first, and then Councillor Whitehead after.
Thank you, apologies. Yeah, thank you for coming to speak to us today. As someone who served on the fostering panel for 4 years in the previous administration, I wholeheartedly endorse what you've said today. We'd just like to acknowledge the fact that we did a huge piece of work before in the previous administration, which led to the recommendations which I believe you've been working with, and that's great. And also, I did actually put a motion forward to for our council to look at council tax and things like that, and then the passes to anything that we as a council owe own. I know that's something that they're still looking at and working with the other district councils, and hopefully that's something that going forward will happen. I am a little bit concerned about what's going to happen, obviously, going forward with this local government reorganisation. You know, foster families, how the impact it might have on them, but obviously something that we will.
Well, we just soldier through that. We are, aren't we? We're just carrying on through.
Yeah.
So it shouldn't have any effect because, you know, we can't stop. We've got to carry on because the kids are so precious. So that's right. Even teenagers. We've got housing as well, Chair, that I think that the pensions system of the county council bought some houses. I think they bought some in certainly in Biddeford and some in Northam. I don't know about here, but they bought 1 bedroom, 2 bedroom, and they can't sell them on. They can't sell them on, Chair. It is owned by the county council, and it is for the teenagers. You know, when they're vulnerable, they need looking after, need somebody to come in to make sure they're all okay. So we're on the case. We're on the case to make sure that these kids are not left behind. Sorry. There's a Chair. There's not somebody else.
Yeah. Councillor Whitehead, and then move up.
If I take this to my parishes, who should they contact at DCC if they are interested?
Just contact me. You just look me up. No, nobody. Yeah, because there hasn't been any councillors. That's so. But just look at the champion. Okay, the Devon champion. That's me.
That's
and
you.
then I can move it on further.
And what's the upper age of these children going into families?
Well,
Is it 18?
yeah, 18.
18.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you. Councillor Caroline Neighbour was next.
Thank you, Chair. And thank you, Councillor Julian. It's interesting to see you in this chamber rather than the one down in Exeter. I think it's really great that you're out around the whole county promoting this, and absolutely there is a huge value to children who are in the care of county council for being fostered, and actually a lot of foster parents say actually what a benefit they get to their life, to their family as well. And it's a really rewarding thing. Sometimes it's for long-term placement, sometimes it's for emergency placements. There's a variety of placements out there. I think what's absolutely true is when the Liberal Democrats took control of the county council in May last year, the number of county council employed foster parents had gone down. There had been a move for long term, certainly quite a decent number of long term foster carers that have been employed by county council to go to either retire or to move to the private sector. And actually, we as the Liberal Democrats, we spent a long time talking to, but most particularly listening to those foster carers about what were the difficulties and what could be done to improve things. And what came across really, really clearly was that they felt that the previous administration wasn't actually all that interested in them. They had real problems with getting payments being made. I'll move on to a question. I'll move on then.
Goodness
I
me.
think what we can certainly say is that the new administration has listened well, and actually there's been a lot of work to make sure that the recruitment process, when people express interest in becoming foster parents, that they are picked up and they are supported in a way which is actually helpful for them. Now, having spent quite a long time talking with the staff in the foster caring service, one of the things they told me, which I had heard from elsewhere as well, but I was really pleased was the case here too, was that one of the best places that there is for them to recruit new foster parents from is from Pride. And Pride in Exeter this year, there were 10 people who put themselves forward, and a number of those people have now been assessed and they've been going through the training, and so that's great. Apparently dog shows too is the other really fantastic place to recruit foster parents. So we've got Pride and dog shows. Fantastic. I think the other thing which I think is really clear is that the service is now putting a renewed energy into keeping siblings together. And actually that's been it's difficult to place when you've got families of a number of siblings, but that's one of the real focuses. So I'd just like to thank you for being out there. But it's actually this administration, the administration and the county council that has really put new energy into that and revived the system that people were leaving, and now they're coming to it. So thank you.
And Councillor Cox was next.
Councillor Julian. I'm sure no one's going to disagree with your belief that we should look after these kids. It's not exactly controversial. I think we all agree. I just think if we're going to spread it, people, the thing that's going to pull people in is they're really going to appreciate is a bit of detail. So you sort of mentioned making it more professional. I'd love to hear about how giving them more money, like how much money our foster care is getting in the first place, how much has it been increased by, are there plans to further increase it? How's that being funded? And you talk about parking exemptions, any details on that sort of scheme, and then also, which I guess is kind of echoing what Councillor Lever has said, but who can we spread this to? Could, for example, we go to same-sex couples? Are they welcome in the fostering service? Just some detail on all those things you mentioned.
You're all welcome. There isn't anything that everybody, same sex, doesn't make any difference as long as they're good people. Not a problem. Meaning that they're not of haven't got any criminal records. That's what I'm saying. So yes, we haven't got any differential about anybody. We are desperate to have whoever that is prepared to take the children off. And as for finance, it's out of my remit. It is the Devon County that you have to speak to. They've got the nuts and bolts to it all. So I can't help you on that. But all I can say is we have turned it around. They are more professional. They have come back to me to say they feel more professional, and that's what we want, is make sure that they are valued. Before I started this, they weren't valued, and they were very upset. And now they're valued, and that's what it's all about.
Could I just remind members that really it should be questions rather than statements, because it's important that we limit the amount of time that we spend on this particular subject. We've got several people still waiting to speak, but I think I'll just ask our CEO to update us on a scheme that Councillor Maskell was talking about before I go to Councillor Beacom and Councillor Crabb and I've forgotten your name for a minute. Councillor Wilson. Thank you. And Councillor Walker after that. Okay.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Councillor Julian. The scheme that I think you referenced just now was about a council tax discount scheme that the county have introduced. For members' benefit, that's a scheme whereby the county council actually give a grant. It's not part of the council. It's not part of the council tax discount scheme as such, but they give a grant to foster carers that is equivalent to between 25% and 50% of the council tax element. The county council element of the council tax. Councillor Maskell a few months ago put forward a motion to this authority that scheme be extended out to the district council element as well. And if you recall, we said as part of that motion that we would try and bring that in across Devon as a whole. That has been discussed at the Devon leaders meeting, and the revenues and benefits officers across the county at the moment are looking to see how that can be introduced in time for future council tax discount schemes. The update that I had a couple of weeks ago, and it might have changed since then, was that there was some difficulty getting some information out of the county council. So it may be something you can take back, Councillor Julian, to push that along. But certainly as district councils, we were keen to try and explore how we could operate that on a pilot basis and see how we can introduce it across the board. But it might be worthwhile you going back to base and trying to unblock that particular logjam if you can.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor Beacom.
Certainly we can pick that up. And I think through children's scrutiny, we can help with that. Robin, obviously thank you for the work you're doing on this. I sort of put my hand up when Councillor Whitehead, I was a bit worried when we were saying, come to me about applications. Fosteringdevon.org is a great website, gives you all the information you need. I think what Robin really says, as many foster parents to come forward as possible. We've got over 800 children out there that we're caring for each week, day, year, and our foster parents are incredible. Robin's doing a really good job of meeting with foster parents, raising awareness, and I think this is nothing to do with politics, is it? This is 800 plus vulnerable children that need care and attention. And I think it's the last place we need to take politics, and it's really good.
Very, very quickly, I'm desperately trying to make this into a question, but I think, does the chair agree with me? There we go. From the leader of the Conservative group on North Devon Council, I'd like to thank you. I think you've done a very, very good job as a, Liberal Democrat administration. Absolutely no problem at all with that at all. Totally agree with what Frank's just said. But I was going to say it first. I don't see any reason for any of this to become political. As Councillor Maskell's already mentioned, the fact that the Mockingbird project was set up by the previous administration, and obviously now you're getting the benefit of that, and you're coming through, and it's all working together. It's not political. I don't think there's any need for some of the statements that have been made before. Does the chair agree with me? There you go.
Yeah. Because if he had been.
Yeah, I'm Vice Chair of Children's Scrutiny at Devon County, so thank you, Councillor Julian, for coming and speaking, and your passion for fostering is really evident. And I mean, not to labour the point too much, and no, it isn't a question because Ken answered my question. We are really cross-party, aren't we? We work together. We've been
Nothing to do with parties.
Yeah,
It is all are different.
We've been face to face with
Absolutely.
foster carers
Yeah.
recently,
Yeah.
all different backgrounds of
Yeah.
counsellors, and we listen to them. We go out, meet them in their homes. We hear about some of the real challenges, but also the real joys of fostering. So I'm really pleased that you came this evening to speak to us.
We've got two more questions and then we must move on. Councillor Walker. Councillor.
Yes, having been through the system myself twice under the private fostering system, are you responsible for that area as well, or is it just for looked up children who already got to the stage of being looked after?
The fostering is in the Devon County. It's fostering the non-for-profit as well that we're involved in to help the children as well, because that's what we need. It's the ones that make profit. If I'm right answering the right question, they're the ones we're trying to get rid of, because that's just making money.
I'm sorry. No, you have people who foster who Devon County Council pay for.
Yeah.
Then you have people who take in children who are not related to them in any way, shape, and form. And
Kinship carers.
no, it's not kinship carers, it's private fostering. Which is where basically a person will take on the responsibility for a child not related to them, hence not kinship carers. And as I say, I've been involved in the private fostering system twice over the last 10 years. And is that in your purview as well?
I'll look into it.
Yeah, because
We're looking into it. I see.
In-house.
Yes, it's in-house. We're looking at the in-house.
Yeah.
Yes.
And a quick Google actually is your friend, which if you Google adoption and fostering at Devon County Council, it brings up lots of lovely information. And the other thing is, obviously these children that we have in our care, if they are not going to be able to go back to their birth families, how are we doing with adoptions in Devon at the moment?
Well, in the adoptions really, I think we've got to. They stay with the foster parent, and as they get older and they get into their teens, then we can find a flat or something, and we just keep them.
Sorry, Councillor Julian, that's not the question I was asking. It was question I was asking is your remit adoption as well as fostering, because obviously you have children who are coming into care who will never be able to.
No, I don't think adoption is. I don't think adoption is in it. Is it? Councillor, sorry, Councillor Biederman.
Yeah, I mean, I think Robin's role really, and this is, I mean, it was through the previous administration and the scrutiny committee came with a set of recommendations, to support foster parents. So Robin's role is very much about supporting foster parents, making sure that foster parents' voices are heard back at the council, and then obviously we can make decisions and take that. So adoption is a service of Devon County Council, but it's outside of this process.
Okay. Thank you. Can I ask Councillor Clayton?
Thanks, Chair. Am I the last one?
Yes.
Well, I just want to say a massive thank you to you for coming along. The Chair will reiterate this as well. You're the people's champion for fostering throughout Devon, and it's obvious from what you've said and how you've spoken to us today that you are an ideal person to do that job because your enthusiasm for this is a very important cause. And let's not forget what we're talking about here is young children and older children who, you know, have got the lowest gifted mind, right? They haven't got parents. And I was in education for a long time, and I came across a number of kids who I taught who were being fostered, and they were going through very difficult times, socially, economically sometimes as well. But it's not about the money; it's about the love that you've sent. And if we can, as a district council, say and encourage more people to do that. I think you mentioned there was 29 foster parents.
35.
You said thousands. You got more there. Yeah, that's what you mean, but right. I don't know how many there are for North Devon, but we're short, I presume.
Yes, we are.
Yeah. So that's the big message that it needs to come across, isn't it? That we need more. And these are the benefits, and it's not just economic benefit. The benefit is having the reciprocal love between the parents and those children. So I absolutely endorse what you're doing, and I wish you well in your visits across the rest of Devon, and I hope you have some great success. So thank you for coming.
Thank you very much. Can I just say, Chair, that I go to schools as well. I've gone to Biddeford College, and they've got foster children in there, and they feel a bit sort of isolated. You know what it's like when you don't feel part of the team. And I've been there, and I've had a word with the principal there to make sure that they're all gelled together. It's critical. They mustn't be isolated. It is. We just don't want to go down that road, and we're turning it around. And then any other schools that I can get to that have got foster children, we are going to make sure that they understand the ins and outs of it all to make them happy and to keep them all together. I'm passionate about keeping everybody together. It's so important, really. So thank you. But I have got leaflets here, Chair. I don't know who can I give the leaflet to you, and I encourage you to pick one up and have a read. It really is encouraging. Thank you.
Thank you very much indeed.
Thank you.
The leaders already the leaders already said thank you, so I won't go over that again because we've a long agenda. But thank you very much indeed for coming. We're moving on now to the item 11, which is the report of the leader.
I will take the report as I would like to just add a couple of additional points. First of all, I'm sure that the whole council is join with me congratulating everybody involved in Ilfracombe Pound of Culture bid. Right, they reached the final of that, and no matter what the result is, it's a massive credit. It's the only town in the southwest, I think, the southwest that's achieved that accolade. I know Barnsley put in for it, and I know Barnsley Town Council that met recently. I've sent them always congratulations, and I've said if you want any help, and you know to ask, and they will get fully involved as well. So I really hope that those involved in that, Councillor Pratt, Councillor Williams, Councillor Wilson, will pass on our congratulations to them, and let's hope for something even more special as well. On the same note, if you like, fantastic achievements for our environment team with the parks, Your Valley, Bigglescombe Park in Ilfracombe again, green flag status. Now they've had it before, but I learned yesterday as well that Rock Park, which I know is run by Barnsley Town Council, which is still within North Devon District, have also achieved for the first time green flag status. And these are things that we should really be really proud of as a council. I think it's fantastic news. So great congratulations to the teams involved there as well. As far as the officers are concerned, you've seen in the news recently about Fred Shelton, the MT Holmes officer, who was awarded special recognition by the LGA. So brilliant work there. We've now got, since the last full council, we've now got a new Prime Minister, Andy Burnham, and he actually said that his number one priority, or the first thing he actually said he was going to do, was to get rid of rough sleeping. Fantastic. Homelessness, it's a blight on society. It fits in with our priorities coming up again later. But I thought it would be an ideal opportunity for us as a council to write to the new Prime Minister and also his housing and government minister, Angela Rayner, who's now back, and invite her down to Ilfracombe, which has been, it lost out in the funding projects, and we've done quite a lot of work in Ilfracombe. And it's had a bad press recently, wrongly. Sarah Wilson put in something very good to the press that I thought was spot on, highlighting all the good things that go on in Ilfracombe. Let's invite her down here and let's show our homelessness situation and what we've been doing to try and get rid of homelessness. So would anybody object if I wrote on behalf of the council to Angela Rayner, inviting her down here? And of course, we could also, if she doesn't come down, we could take her on a £2 bus trip. Devon. And we could start off on Tuesday morning and get there by. It's to show her the problem we're going to have with the new unitary authorities. But I will write. I'll take the rest of it as read. If anybody wants to ask me any questions, then please do.
Right, Councillor Ricky Knight was first.
Another question.
Next one then.
Well, Councillor Clayton, I want to be sycophantic for a moment and thank you very much for your report. The first 7 paragraphs would have been taken straight from my lead member's report in January. This is absolutely.
It probably was.
Probably was. Next January, I mean, because it's very close to our hearts, all of us, in terms of climate and environment. It's made clear, especially from the sources on Monday, which you alluded to, that and when Donna mentioned deaths from heat stroke, etc. These are extraordinary times, and we all know we saw it coming like a juggernaut, and here it is. It's arrived, and it's going to get worse. I think one of the quotes I heard was, "Hope you're enjoying this summer break because it's never going to be this cool again." So, I would like to thank you for your comments, and you've been so supportive with the climate action team, and you always. In SNI, you've responded to all the reports. You mentioned the coastal report and the parks report, etc., from Strategy Resources and Donna's report itself. It's very important we keep that front and centre in all our deliberations, because we live in very difficult times. And if you haven't seen the People's Emergency Briefing, then please try and see it, because it will underscore all our concerns. Anyway, thank you for your report. I'll copy and paste it for my report in January.
So next, Councillor Peter Lever.
Yeah, thank you very much, Chair. Thank you, Councillor Clayton, for your report. I have got a question, but it is a does the leader question. Does the leader support the new? Well, yes, thank you, Councillor Kraft. Do you support the new future home standards that have been introduced by government that will require all new housing to have renewable energy at the heart of it, whether it be solar panels or air source heat pumps? And just as a reminder to the council, this is something that Liberal Democrat parliamentarians have been championing for years and have worked cross-party to now get that accepted by government.
Absolutely, Councillor Levy, yes. It's always surprised me that in the last few years, last few decades, really, when those in the know, excuse me, have banged on about climate change, we haven't been insisting that new houses are built with solar panels. It's not rocket science, literally, and it should have been done. But yeah.
Councillor Cromwell.
I wonder if it's only cropped up because I see the landmarks in line for an air source heat pump, and I wondered if the leader would like to speak to the head of property or whatever, and think about installing something on the Queens, because I understand if you've got one of these things, you can turn the dial the other way. And at a recent performance in the Queens, due to the ever-changing climate, obviously, Councillor Knight, literally half the crowd walked out at half time. I mean, the theatre, you know, in weather like this, the theatre is becoming unusable. So I don't know if something can be done about that. If the landmark's being looked at, I would look at the Queens as well. Perhaps you like to know.
Yeah, I'm not absolutely certain what finances are in this, and a lot of it does come down to finances. But we'll, and I can give you a written reply as to what the situation is.
You don't see Councillor Ratty hand up or?
I will forfeit my question, Chair, for the time being.
Okay, thank you. Councillor Crabb, so you've just done yours, so. Was there anyone else? And we move on. Okay, thank you very much. In that case, we go to item 12. Questions from the leader or chair of the committee under part 4. Well, none's been received, so we go on to local government reorganisation. Now, I think we need to limit this because we could be here for the next couple of hours talking about this. I'd like to limit it to a couple of questions from each of the groups, if that's agreeable with members, so that we will be having obviously lots of debates about the future of local government reorganisation in the future. But if people from each group wants to make a statement or say something tonight, I think that's fine, but let's not go on too long. So, would you like to? Yeah, sure.
Put it your back against camera.
I'll try and be as brief as possible, and Ken will be able to give detail the officer point of view. Now, we will all have heard that the government made the decision and communicated it.
Could we all listen, please?
Thank you, Chair. I'll start again. Okay. So we all heard that on Thursday last week, the government announced its decision. The submissions that went in from Devon were, well, certainly from this part of the world, were in line with the criteria that was set out by government in, well, over Christmas 2025. I think, well, anyway, the application, I mean, the submissions that went in were various, and what they've decided to do is to not take an awful lot of notice of the criteria that was set out that we were working to. And what you will all have received a letter now that's been circulated with the representations letter, which is about setting up the sort of the legal framework for taking us from where we are to vesting day next year. So you'll have seen, no doubt, in that there have been 4 unitary councils that have been decided for the historic county of Devonshire. Exeter Council, Torbay and South Devon Council, Greater Plymouth, and we are in what is called Devon Council. Okay, the letter sets out that there are 103 councillors that will be within Devon Council, and which is greater than the others. Population wise, ours is by far the largest of the unitaries, and one of the largest in the country, about 455,000 people. Plymouth, or is it no, Greater Plymouth is about 300,000. Exeter Council is about 256,000, and Torbay and South Devon are at 220,000, so half the size of us. I think in terms of the, excuse me, just pop that there, sorry, thank you. Where we are now is we are heavily into implementation, and I know the Chief Executive has spoken to us about implementation and all the work that is going on and is going to need to go on. I heard today that there's been a list drawn up which isn't complete yet, of the number of tasks that need to be done in order to take us from where we are now to vesting day. And it's in the region of 4,000 different tasks. It's a complex picture, but officers are working tirelessly. I imagine you're going to be quite tired by the end of the process, as indeed we all are. So meetings are taking place frequently. The chief executive will tell a little bit more than that. So the next stage, and it's quite a tight time scale for this next stage, is warding. So we've been told 103 councillors. So Ken here, along with Phil Shears, who is the Chief Executive of Teignbridge Council, they're working together on leading on warding. Up here, it's considerably simpler than in the south of the county, where we have got districts that have been split, county divisions that have been split. Some districts, I think Teignbridge have got areas going into 3 different unitaries. It's quite complicated. So the basis that they're working on, and bearing in mind submission, thank you, the submission has got to be in by this, I think the deadline is 17th of August, so it needs to be agreed before then. So quite very, very tight. But the basis is trying to get as equal number of residents per councillor in each of the wards for the Devon Council. Working on the basis of about 3,500 per councillor. So at the moment, it's looking like, certainly for the north of the county, which is the least complicated bit really, is looking at using divisions, county divisions, probably multi-member, mostly 3 councillors per county division. Now, the government has been quite clear that this is a holding pattern, that there isn't time. I mean, this sort of stuff would normally take 8, 9, 10 months to do properly, and officers have got 3 weeks, I think. So this is only going to be a holding pattern. So the government has been quite clear that it's expected that there'll be basically a review of all of the wards and all of that during the lifetime, the first term of the new council. Election teams are working hard on it and meeting frequently. The letter that you've had has also set out the arrangement for joint committees, which sets out the number of representatives from county council and those district councils that will go into those unitaries. There's no flexibility. Government tells us what we can have. That's what we've got. It's basically 1 per district and the equal number from county. But the idea is that they're only going to be there until vesting day. That's all about setting up moving forward on implementation. It's all focused on making sure that come vesting day, that that the new authorities are safe and legal. There will be a considerable journey beyond that and beyond vesting day. So the elections in May next year will be to the new unitaries. Now, those councillors who are elected, and the government has also specified that they will have a leader and cabinet model. So forget the committee system that we've got here, which we brought in as a result of members asking for that to be brought in. That's no longer going to be allowed. So it's going to be leader and cabinet. And so those people who are elected in May next year, a cabinet will be formed from whatever parties end up with in control. And their work is going to be pretty tough, actually, to really take forward the implementation. So that shadow authority, most councillors won't have a huge amount to do in terms of taking forward the arrangements. There is a whole bunch of layers of work on this, including looking at community governance and the whole question about what does that mean? Government hasn't told us. We're quite happy for them not to tell us. We think they should trust local government to know about what neighbourhoods look like and so on and so forth. But at the end of it, and actually when I suppose through the process, all the councils in Devon will continue delivering services as they do now. The hope is, and I think the expectation is, that come vesting day, services will just continue to be delivered. most people who work for councils, their jobs will continue. We are going to continue to need social workers. We are going to continue to need bins to be emptied. We are going to continue to need, all the various different bits and pieces. So the vast majority of council staff, that they should not worry about their jobs. And I think we've been really clear, and we've talked about this at Strategy and Resources, that actually we want to finish well. We want to finish North Devon Council well. It'll be 51 years, I think, in the final analysis, or 52, something like that. 54. Thank you very much indeed. So, as well as being the new authorities being safe and legal, we want to start that well, but we want to finish this one well. So there have already been ideas coming in from staff. Maybe Councillor Crabber's got one now for us, some great ideas for how we see out this council, how we celebrate actually what all parties and councillors have contributed to this authority in the limited time that it's had. And I'm going to pass you over to the Chief Executive. For more detail.
Thank you, Carolina. Just in relation to the warding pattern, because I saw there were some concerns raised about that. To reinforce the point made by Councillor Lever, we have until the 16th of August to submit the warding pattern for the whole of Devon to government. Necessarily, that is going to mean very, very limited involvement with parish town councils and even with yourselves. That's not a position I'm happy with, because as Councillor Lever said, if we were doing a community governance review, it would take 12 months, you'd be involved, there'd be reports going to full council, etc. We simply do not have the time for that. We only had the councillor numbers yesterday, I think it was, with the letter that came out, and I forwarded it on this morning, I think I did. Until that point, we couldn't do any detailed work. We had submitted some numbers to government as part of the consultation on the structural changes order. And as part of that, we had done some high level work to see whether that number of 103 could work in practice in our area, in the Devon Council area. We think it can. But what we now need to do is do some really detailed work with the elections teams on looking to see whether that can actually work in practice, how we can do it. And to redraw all the boundaries, if you like, and create new unitary wards, there simply wouldn't be the time before the 16th of August. And so a pragmatic approach, because we know that it is just a holding pattern, if you like, a pragmatic approach is to use the county divisions and look to put 2 or 3 councillors into each one, depending on how it works out. As Councillor Lever said, it is a holding pattern. We know that the Boundary Commission will come into the new authorities during the first 5 years of their terms, so before the next elections, and there will be a whole-scale boundary review in each of those authorities at that point. So this might not be perfect, and it's a far from perfect process, if you like, to go through actually to come to these numbers, but it's all we can do in the time that we've been given. We will make some efforts to try and extend that time with government, but realistically, if we get 1 or 2 weeks, it doesn't make much difference to the whole process. You still can't do a meaningful engagement exercise, unfortunately. Just in relation to the work that's ongoing at the moment, the letter that came out, you'll see names Donna Manson, who's the Chief Exec at the County Council, as the Senior Responsible Officer. We knew that in advance, and Donna has already been putting in place some structures to start the work. We are working under different themes at the moment, with more themes to be stood up. Each theme that's been set up as a Chief Executive, existing Chief Executive heading it up. I'm heading up elections with Phil Shears, as Councillor Lever said, and also the assets themes, looking at how we transfer assets over to the new authorities and how we record those assets. There are themes set up around contracts, around ICT, HR, finance, communications, and culture. I probably missed a couple. And then there are other themes that are going to be set up in the not too distant future as well. Each council is inputting into those themes. So although I might be heading up the assets theme as an example, each council in Devon is putting forward officers to sit on that theme and start looking at assets as a subject. And that's exactly the same across the board. So officers within the council are all now starting to get involved in those relevant themes, and pretty much everybody on SMT is now involved, and also an awful lot of our other managers are involved as well. That work will take us through to the elections. The elections are going to be quite complicated. The experience from other authorities that have gone through the process already, like Surrey, etc., shows that they're not like district elections. They're not like county elections. They are a particular beast. We have some particular complications in Devon, and looking through the list of decisions that were taken last week, I've gone through them all in detail, but to me, Devon looks the most complicated and intricate to implement. We're creating 4 unitary authorities, and we are disaggregating 3 districts at the same time, as well as disaggregating the county council. And you've got districts, as Councillor Lever said, like Teignbridge, which are being split 3 ways. It's a really complicated process, and you know, the aim at the end of the day is to get through this in a safe and legal way, to get those services set up, so that there is no reduction in service or drop off in services that the public experience on vesting day. But yes, work is underway in significant detail now. We're still at that phase where we're trying to get everything onto the table. At the conference last week before, I don't know if any of the other people that went along to it saw, there was a presentation by the Chief Executive at Surrey County Council. And one of the other chief executives, Marie, and I apologise in advance, I can't remember her surname now, from East Banstead, is it right? Authority. But she said this process is like, you know, when you've had kids and you've got a big box of Lego under the stairs. This is like tipping that box of Lego out onto the floor and just spreading it out and seeing what colours you've got, what sets you've got. The next stage is putting those sets together. And that'll be putting those services together. So at this stage, we are just looking to see what we've got across the county, doing that data exercise. We've got some resources being put into the process. So we have contracted with KPMG as a strategic partner. KPMG assisted the 451 group in drawing up their proposal. They've got really good experience of local government reorganisation in other areas, principally Cumbria they were involved in, and some other areas as well. They're also involved in Hampshire and a couple of the other areas in the DPP. We've also employed a programme director to start pulling some structure together around this programme. They're employed through the County Council, a chap called Lewis Gabb, again with good experience of local government reorganisation in other areas. He's come from Northamptonshire. So we are pulling together that team. Work is now starting in earnest, and will continue through to vesting day. In terms of the structure, as Councillor Lever said, we have elections to the new authority in May next year. We will receive the structural changes order probably in March next year. And it's the structural changes order that postpones the district elections, that sets the new boundaries. And it's quite worrying that we're going to get that so late in the day in March next year, because we will need to issue our notice of election probably by about 20th of March. It's going to be very close. And so an awful lot of this work is going to be done on trust, if you like, that structural changes order will come through. But if the structural changes order doesn't come through, then we will necessarily have to pivot quite quickly towards holding a district election. That might be a bit of a nightmare scenario. We were assured on the call with MHCLG officials yesterday, I think it was, that it will be out. They are very aware that it has to be out by the end of March. And they were reminded on the call that aiming to get it out by the end of March will be too late. It needs to come out before then. But that structural changes order will, if you like, put in place the legislation to create the new authority to disband North Devon Council and the other authorities as well. Once we have the election, the shadow authority will be set up, and the shadow authority will then start taking some of the decisions about disaggregating services or aggregating services and how you implement it. In advance of that, we'll have the joint committees that Councillor Lever talked about to provide that steerage. Joint committees will only be in place for 6 months or so before the shadow authority is set up. That's probably about it. But I'm sure there'll be questions that we can try and answer.
Right, so it's over to you, members. Councillor Crabb was the first one, please.
Mainly numbers, Chair, really. First is an observation. I mean, if you put 103 councillors in a room, put a TV camera in there and someone from the Journal, the meeting's going to carry on. It's going to be a 3 or 4 day meeting, isn't it? So I mean, same flippant, but it's true, isn't it? You know, it goes on. So judging by the numbers that were given, 103 councillors, it's roughly 4,300 population, not necessarily voters, but population per ward then. So at the minute we've got, if you're saying 3, would that give us 24 councillors in the North Devon district then? Or is this all a bit soon?
I think it's 17.
Yeah.
North Devon.
16.
So with our population, not voters, our population is only 17 times 4, which is 68,000. No, that's nonsense.
That's the electorate, 67,000. Look at that.
The council is 450,000 population. 103 councillors gives you 4,300 population.
4,417.
Apologies, I was reading the wrong line. It's 23 for North Devon.
Okay, then reassuring. Okay, thank you. And the other thing,
That's not 3 for electoral division.
not quite.
No, not quite.
We'll get to. And the other thing I would urge anyone that gets a chance to look at this is I still think that there is an opportunity in this for something good to come out of it. And I think that the neighbourhood area committee is an absolutely crucial part. And I don't know, I've tried to look at the Exeter one and I think it's given a great deal to an Exeter and says we've got this marvellous idea for everywhere else, but we're not going to tell you about it. But the Devon one originally that came out with Devon County Council suggested that the neighbourhood committee for North Devon, which is just like a little parish committee, was going to be virtually half the size of North Devon Council. So it was way out of kilter, I think, I think there's a chance there, what I'm saying is there's a chance for these neighbourhood area committees to be recognisable. So if you're in that committee, your village should feel an affinity for someone at the other end of it. Not like the affinity I feel with Seaton, to be absolutely fair. And actually, I don't think I've been there, to be honest. Oh, I would go.
Can I just follow up on these figures on warding?
Yeah.
Because it really is important. I mean, it'd be an absolute representative, well, it'd be a disaster for the rural bits of North Devon. I understand that 3 people could represent a town, or 4 or 5 people could represent a town. But to represent all those parishes, have 3 different councillors, they may end up being 3 different parties, will be an absolute disaster for communities. And I would just beg Ken, if you look at these figures, each district ward is about 2,000 electors average. So with population probably about 2,500. So we're not that far away with this 4,417. You know, using the building blocks of district wards rather than just plonking 3 in each electoral division. I really think that's worth an exercise because there may be, but it does talk about parishes as well in here. It said you've got to use the building blocks, electoral divisions, wards, and then it says parishes. So, and we've got chunks in East Devon, chunks in Timbridge and Southampton, county electoral divisions completely smashed apart anyway. You know, they just don't exist. So you can't use that as a rule in North Devon and let them use parishes to make their numbers work. So I know time is short, but I think all of us would welcome, thinking about the district ward as a building block. And if a few parishes move about, it's not the end of the world. And I don't know whether, but the letter certainly says that that's possible without going to the Boundary Commission. I just urge folk that and Ken in particular, look at that as an option. And while I'm standing, I don't want to go back over old ground. But the 4 unitary option gave us the opportunity for a Northern Devon unitary that included Mid Devon, or the majority of Mid Devon and West Devon. We missed the opportunity.
Yes.
And I don't like doing I told you so, but it's true. We had the chance to, Exeter's ears were open to the 4 unitary option all the way along, and we didn't bother speaking to them. And, okay, it's easy to be clever after and I don't blame any individual, but I just think sticking to these criteria was always obvious that the government were going to do the political thing. I mean, Exeter and Plymouth were always going to win, weren't they?
Yes.
But I mean, we are where we are. But what I think, thinking about the criteria, is not just the size, it's when they talked about local identity and cultural and historic importance. They've completely ignored that in this, because they've actually decimated Devon, in fact, haven't they? And I feel as much for some of I've got cousins down in the Southamptons, but they're cousins from my great grandfather's days. But they must be absolutely devastated. At least we, West Devon and Torres, are the only 3 districts that aren't going to be carved up. The rest are all disappearing, aren't they? So that identity in the north end up here looks like an area system to me, even within this new unitary. There's 3 distinct areas, aren't there? There's the north, there's the Dartmoor area, West Devon plus a bit of Southampton, and then there's a bit that's based from Mid Devon and East Devon. There is a logic there for 3 separate identities within that local authority to keep some sort of local, the bit that the Councillor Crabb was talking about. And I just think that model, really could be valuable. But having said that, what I'm saying is that 28 parishes represented by 3 people is not democracy. And the communities of North Devon are used to having a local councillor that is responsible for their patch. And pretty well everybody in North Devon knows their district councillor. They won't know any of these people in the future, and they'll be just taken over by the national political swing. And I just think that's a tragedy, Chair.
We've got some as well, so if you want to start.
Just in relation to the neighbourhood committees, you're absolutely right that government, when they set us this task 18 months ago, whenever it was, said that because there are bigger unitary authorities being created, then there should be some arrangements put in place for neighbourhood committees or community areas or whatever you want to call it. The work on that hasn't started yet. So the basis of it is the proposal that's been accepted, which is the Exeter Plymouth proposal. But there is absolutely scope to work on that and come up with a proposal that works for the areas. I suspect Exeter and Plymouth didn't put a huge amount of effort into thinking what that neighbourhood committee system might look like at that stage. Nobody did, because it was so early in the state, so early in the process, and because the time that was allowed didn't really allow for that. But there is time now to start planning what those neighbourhood committees might look like for our areas, and that's what part of this work will be about. Just in relation to the councillor numbers, yeah, we can have a look at that. One thing that we've got the meeting with the first kick-off meeting with the election teams tomorrow, and then they're meeting again on Friday to start getting into the detail of it. One of the things we did suggest was perhaps if you still use the division as a basis, is perhaps splitting that division in some way. So you could have one councillor looking at, I don't know, half of that division and 2 looking at the other, or whatever it might be. So we can look at those options. But I would stress again, the time allowed for this is ridiculously short. The other point I just wanted to make, sorry, it's going off tangent, but I meant to mention it as part of this, part of my presentation. Do not forget that all of these authorities are new authorities. Everything is being disbanded. So you might hear noises about Exeter Council is just taken on an extra bit, or Plymouth Council is just taken on an extra bit. They're not. They're being disbanded. There are no continuing authorities in this process. So we're all starting with a clean sheet of paper. And the only other point I want to mention is something I raised in one of the emails, and it's something that's come up in conversations across the county just recently, is the need at some stage to inject some positivity into this, into the decision. I know at this point in time, everyone is smarting from it. The dust is settling. But certainly within our area, our economic development team have had calls from businesses saying this is terrible. We're in this Devon council area, and everybody on social media is saying it's going to be rubbish. Everybody on social media is saying the Exeter council is going to be brilliant. So where do I put my money? And we need to really stop that. There are positives around it, and once the dust has settled, I think we need to start identifying those positives and putting those positive noises out to the public, our businesses, our communities, and also our staff, because we're going around telling people to go through this process with the same enthusiasm that they currently got for North Devon Council, and it makes it really difficult when there are comments on social media saying it's the worst thing since sliced bread. So please bear that in mind when making comments. I know that political points have to be made, and I'm not trying to stop that, but I'm just saying please bear the impact of those comments in mind when you make them.
It was that neighbourhood governance level, which I just wanted to reflect a little bit from some stuff that's going on elsewhere in the country. So I went to a presentation and they had one of the chief executives from the new.
Can you speak up a little? I think
Sorry.
At the back there.
Sorry. So I went to a presentation recently about the whole issue about community governance and neighbourhood governance. Is a government has not told us, and hopefully they won't, what a neighbourhood is. Really, they should keep their noses out, frankly. We're better at knowing what a neighbourhood is. But there's been some quite interesting work that's gone on in up in Cumbria, particularly the area that covers Barrow-in-Furness and up to what used to be Copeland, bits of Copeland, which is very much looking about more participatory methods of working with parishes, with the voluntary sector, with business, with health. Personally, I would like us to go down that route. Rather than having plonked on top of us, I know an NHS locality, for example, which some places are talking about, but certainly something that has happened in other places that have got unitaries is where this neighbourhood level is. If there is no devolved power, if there's no devolved budget, they are just talking shops and nobody turns up. So we cannot have that. So I would say that we have a job to do to work positively to find a neighbourhood governance model that actually will mean that our communities will have a voice. And that's all I'll say on it.
Good. I'm just conscious of the time because I've got Councillor Rutty, Councillor Tox, Councillor Walker and Councillor Clayton who all want to speak. Councillor Rutty.
I'll try and be quick to say, Chair. As the youngest councillor in this chamber, I was actually quite angry when the government decision came out. I thought it was a massive disadvantage to young people. But then I got thinking, we have a real opportunity here to make Barnstaple the home of this new council and really drive home these economic drivers that can help develop Barnstaple. But on the community governance review, I read on the white paper or whatever it was, that they're planning on having a full community governance review.
That's within the first term.
Yeah, within the first term. Well, we've just had a community governance review in North Devon, and I don't understand why the government feels the need to have another one and force another one upon us. So I just want to know what your thoughts were on that, personally, Councillor Lever, considering we've just done all the work and spent all the money on it.
But that's North Devon Council, and this is for the unit. Exactly. Different council.
But obviously the boundaries, the responses are going to be the same. All the residents are going to get more annoyed that we're trying to change the boundaries of the parishes again. I mean, that's my personal opinion.
We're taking forward what we are being told to do by government. Officers have got 3 weeks to do it.
We've got no choice. Okay, moving on. Good night. That's the top.
Yeah, thank you. I don't disagree with what Councillor Prowse said, and of course, Excellent Plymouth getting what they wanted was probably a fair company. But similar to the chief exec, I think I've said in all of the local government reorganisation meetings, and many others have as well, that it is what it is. It's what we've got, and we have got to try and make the best of it, and try to be positive about it. It's an immensely complex task that's facing it, but here in North Devon, we're in the slightly fortuitous position, I suppose, that we are saying, we're not being carved up. we have got some of those harder tasks of ward boundaries, etc., that might be less complex. And we've also got Barnstable as the biggest town within the new authority. And so I think we need to really push, and it's easy to say that from over here and not as an officer us to do all this work, but to push and try and take advantage of those things, because our responsibility is to the people of North Devon to try and make the best of this for the people of North Devon. And we could end up in a really lovely position where Barnstable is kind of the centre of this unitary authority. The whole of the rest of North Devon, and dare I say it, even Bideford, kind of by association, really benefits, and I think that's something we've got to try and keep in mind.
Thank you. Councillor Walker.
Yeah, I actually want to disagree a little bit with Councillor Prowse about one of his points, which was that we didn't take advantage of talking to Exeter and Plymouth to try and get the larger council area split, because I remember Councillor Clayton very clearly reporting back to us that he had done just that, but didn't think he'd been listened to, which is what has come about. So just a quick correction on what my recollection of what's happened is. Now, one thing I think we need to remember is we do have a little time left as a district council, and that we have projects and a corporate plan that we want to bring up as much as we can. We've got a fantastic team of staff who are working really hard, both on local government reorganisation and on our corporate plan, to keep both things going, ticking along, and I think that we should be very thankful that we've got such a great team of staff. And I really hope that most of our staff will choose to stay with us when we become a unitary authority, because I think you'll find that we are going to need them all because of the experience and value they bring to the authority.
Thank you. Would you like Councillor Wilson to go before you?
Yes, I mean, we're running out of time, so.
Yeah, Councillor Wilson.
It's just a question about member oversight and all of this. I know we've got to work quickly, especially at the moment, but it's just to understand better. Obviously, we're talking about things now, and we've got scrutiny committee and we've got the joint committee. I just want to understand a bit more about where the member voice comes in. Is there anything additional? What members are there going to be on the joint committee, so that we can be reassured that we've got safe and legal transfer, and how we can be kept informed as we are now, or what are the channels really?
The letter sets out how the joint committees will be constituted, and if I remember rightly, for the Devon Council, I think it's 7 members from the county and then 7 members from all of the districts, so 1 each from all of the districts. That joint committee will be set up in around November time, and will go through till May election. So they're not going to be in place for that long. They will have some decisions to make during that period, but it's not going to be extensive. It's quite clear that this is a process we have to go through. I think reading, just listening to the conversations here, I think there's a good bit of work for members to do or be involved in around those neighbourhood committees and what they might look like. And I think that's a really good piece of work that we can start doing collectively across the Devon Council. In terms of how we keep you up to date, I'm open to suggestions as to how we do that. I do put a blog out to staff, which members can sign up to as well. And that often relates to LGR at the moment, seems to be predominantly LGR. And we can do informal full council sessions or whatever it might be, other informal sessions. But certainly I want to keep you all informed as to what's going on through this process. Don't want you to be excluded from that. But in terms of decision making, there aren't that many decision making points now between now and the elections, unfortunately. The elections is the next big issue, I guess. But any suggestions as to how you want to be kept informed, how you want to be involved, then more than happy to see them. But the neighbourhood committee sounds like a good, meaty piece of work to get involved in, I think.
I think if I may, there's also the issue about how we keep our parishes and the community more broadly informed as well, which is kind of one of the reasons that it was decided there'd be a lead member, just so basically the leader of the council doesn't have to do everything he's doing this as well. So I don't have any decision-making powers, but I'm there to really help take the load off to Councillor Clayton's shoulders, because frankly, he's pretty busy being the council leader. But part of that is very much about communication. And part of it will be not only through council meetings, but I think that we will be having meetings with parish councillors, the parish forums that we have, that's going to be part of it. And I think through the comms team as well, I think there's quite an important job to be done just to provide some information to people. And when we're talking about neighbourhood governance, which isn't actually up to us to decide, it will be the new authority when they come in. But what we can do is that we can work to provide a blueprint for how it could work. And I think that's what we can work towards. And actually, if we can work with other councils that are going to go into the new unitary, and the more agreement we can get before the new unitary arrives, or is here, then actually the better. So I think, again, it's about trying to build those relationships and keep those relationships going with those other councils. Officers have got quite a lot of technical stuff to do, but we as councillors, if we've got contacts in other areas, anything we can do to encourage movement towards a neighbourhood governance model that really enables our communities to have a voice, that would be really positive. That would be really helpful.
Thank you. Could I ask Councillor Mascot to come in? I'm very conscious of time.
Very quickly, it has been mentioned by a few councillors about where the heart of this new council is going to sit. When and how is that decided? And the other thing was just staffing numbers. Will we actually need more staff to go through this process? Because obviously we're going to be running, two authorities at the same time for a period of time. So yeah, just wondering about your staffing numbers as well. Thank you.
To the staff, there'll be two councils running during that year when we have a shadow authority and we're still in existence during that period. But that shadow authority won't have staff. They will appoint a chief executive, and they may well appoint some of their statutory officers as well. But that will be it. The work will be done within the existing councils, and then on vesting day, April 28, all of the staff from all of the authorities will transfer over to the new authorities. So there's you probably have heard of it. The set of regulations called the GP regulations, which will transfer staff directly into that new organisation. In relation to where the new council will be based, technically that is down to the new authority to take a decision on. And what's happened in other areas, Cumbria is a good example. They are still using all of the bases that they had previously as district councils and in their new authorities. And that's 4 or 5 years ago. So it's down to the new authority to decide how it wants to prioritise that sort of transformational work, if you like, how it brings services together, what it does with its office stock and all that sort of stuff.
Right. I've got Councillor Clayton and Councillor Peterman.
Yeah, really quick. Obviously, just really wrote to the government years ago about what do you call it, Zoom meetings, but the Teams meetings, so it could be hybrid. When you look at the area we're in, have we ever got anywhere with that? Because obviously you talk about base, but actually sensible thing for a lot of it. You have a hybrid meeting, you have 2 years to test it. Just seems sensible to me that we should be submitting something that
I'll double check on it, Councillor Wiedemann. I thought it was in the legislation, but it hadn't yet been introduced. But it may not have even got that far. I know there were plans to introduce something, but we'll double check on that.
Right. Councillor Clayton's the last one on it. Yeah.
Get many of that.
Thanks, Chair. I was going to say quite a lot, have quite a lot to say. We're going to revisit this, I'm sure, as well. But 2 or 3 points, very, very quickly. One, I think we're going to be very mindful of the pressures on people like Ken and other officers, because we've already heard that this, the warding arrangements have to be done by August 16th. That's going to be an immense amount of pressure. So please be careful, members, of putting too much pressure on officers at this particular time. Secondly, Councillor Caroline Lever mentioned about keeping parishes informed. The next parish forum is on July the 30th in here, which I'm chairing. So please encourage your parish council representatives to come along. There's 2 main items. It's this and the local plan as well. So please do encourage that if possible. And thirdly, just to reiterate very quickly what Councillor Thompson said about eloquently. Yeah, it's a stitch up. Labour Party stitch up as far as I'm concerned. Labour run Plymouth, Labour run Exeter, got what they wanted. They were always going to get it, in my opinion. So it's been a complete waste of time sitting through all these meetings where I did say to Ken at the start, he was always more optimistic than me, that this is what was going to happen, and it did happen because it's political. But we are way up where we are. And we've got a huge opportunity now to make the very best of this. People, as you alluded to on social media, are saying it's a complete mess. We're going to make the best of it. And there's a lot of potential there. And we can do so much with it. And it's up to us now, and councillors who are going to put themselves forward for unitary council status to get elected and to make the case for Barnstaple, for Ilfracombe, for South Moulton, those northern areas, to be predominant in this new unitary. And we've got to share and make our case. So I'll leave it at that. I've gone too long already. Sorry.
Thank you, Councillor Lever, and also our Chief Exec. So moving on to item 14, lead members' report. We're noting the report from Councillor Bell. So moving on to item 15. Financial management and waterfall. Okay, so over to Ursula Coombs for report.
Jeff,
you wanted to-
Councillor Walker's going to introduce. I'm just going to say a few words on the report and then we'll move to Councillor.
Oh, right, okay, fine, thank you.
Jeff.
So it's, I think this is a really positive end of the year for our finances. We've had more money in from business rates retention than was expected, and more money from the general pool than was expected. We're going to use this to basically pay it forward. So we're going to put some of the money into earmarked reserves in order to lessen the budget gap in the next following couple of years, where hopefully it will reduce the gap significantly. Basically, thank you very much to the staff for all their hard work as normal in making sure that we have a budget that works. And it's a shame that we won't have something in the next year, because obviously this year the business rates have been reset. So for at least the next year, there will not be very much in the way of business rate growth like we've had here. But this is a really good use of work. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you, Councillor Walker. Members, the draft report that's in front of you on your agenda papers have been through both scrutiny and policy meeting on the 2nd of July and strategy and resources last Monday. There is an updated report and appendices A and B on your agenda papers this evening. They're attached to the supplementary document, and that's due to some changes to the draft outturn position that was reported at those previous committees. It's still a significant positive position for the council. We have a net budget surplus. That net budget surplus is 1.2 million. The bulk of that coming from additional business rates income. However, there was a reduction on the initial draft surplus reported to the earlier meetings due to a change in those final business rate figures, but still higher than originally budgeted and what was reported at the Q3 position. What was reported at Q3 moved by 1.1 million for the Q4 position. The reason for the change was a review of something called a Section 31 grant that we received for business rates following the submission of our year-end return. And there's been a movement in the business rate numbers between the standard and small business rate multiplier rates that have been shown on the original return to government. That resulted in the business rate income and Section 31 grant being 761,000 lower, however, still 1.1 million higher than what we reported at Q3 position. So overall, it's a positive financial position at 31st of March 26 of 1.23 million budget surplus. There is a new Appendix A in your papers that sets out the variances for that. And it's proposed to contribute those into the following earmarked reserves, as alluded to by Councillor Walker. This is to cover some planned contributions over the next 2 to 3 financial years to mitigate our financial pressure in the budget for 27-28 onwards. So the proposal is to put 250,000 of the 1.2 million budget surplus into the Office Technology Reserve. That's to cover the planned reserve contributions for 27-28 and 28-29, which would obviously be the first year of the new unitary authority, and that's for technology infrastructure requirements. 278,000 into the repairs fund reserve, again to cover the planned reserve contributions for the next 2 financial years, and putting them into that reserve earlier, again therefore asset maintenance requirements. 275,000 into the town centre management reserve. This is where we've previously funded the street marshal's provision, and that existing contract expires in December 26. So this gives members the opportunity to receive a report to consider the forward funding of the street marshal scheme for future financial years. That would be a separate member decision. But setting the money aside in the reserve now gives members that opportunity to continue that much needed provision for 27-28 and 28-29 up to the new unitary authority, of which then it would become a separate decision post April 28. And then finally, 427,000 into the repairs fund reserve to support capital funding bids included within the report that's in front of you. Firstly, for Rapparee Cliff stabilisation works in Ilfracombe of £174,000 and Barnstable Bus Station forecourt resurfacing of £253,000. Replacing those monies into those reserves allows us to make those reserve contributions early and also cover the much needed capital funding bids that have come forwards. The earlier draft report that came to members included a 700,000 contribution to a local government reorganisation reserve. This was to set money aside to cover some of those transitional costs towards the new authority being created. That each district council and the county council would need to agree a mechanism for sharing those transition costs. Due to the change in the outturn figures, the contribution is not being proposed in that manner. However, Appendix B in your papers, members will see a number of proposed transfers within reserves in the final column, and having taken a review of the reserve balances and some work that we did through the budget working group, some movements in those reserves have taken place. We have a number of dormant reserves with residual balances that have now been moved to the budget management reserve, which now has a balance of proposed of £800,000. We had 7 housing related reserves that have now been amalgamated for ease into one new housing reserve. The one-off contribution to both the Economic Development Reserve and Local Government Organisation Reserve that was set as part of the budget setting be made 1 year early in 25-26, reducing the need to make those contributions after 27-28 year. And again, that helps to protect the ongoing revenue budget gap. The Members' Technology Reserve balance has been moved into the main Technology Reserve balance, so it's all under one ICT reserve. And then the Local Government Reorganisation Reserve, together with the approved contribution in the current year as part of the base budget, will bring the reserve balance up to almost £1 million to cover the NDC share of the transitional costs moving to the new authority. One thing Ken alluded to was obviously the transitional arrangements and obviously the letter that came out from government yesterday. That letter also did set out that there was £900,000 for each unitary authority to cover the initial transition costs, and a further 150,000 for the practical demands of reorganisation. Each unitary authority proposed, obviously the 4 in Devon will receive that individually. So that will cover some of those upfront costs. However, there will be potentially other costs that will need to be covered. And each district council and the county council are starting to set monies aside to cover their respective shares. That's why we decided as part of the 26-27 budget to set up the LGR reserve. If it's not all needed, then that money will be released back into our reserves and obviously set back into our general fund balances. The LGR reserve proposed contribution, therefore, in the papers in Appendix B is movement of 600,000 on top of the 175,000 already made. and that's a movement from the collection fund reserve, which was previously set up to mitigate business rate income pressures if there was any volatility in the business rate system. As Councillor Walker alluded to, that now been reset for 26-27. There's no Devon pooled anymore for 26-27, but as you've seen from the outturn, there are some significant gains that we've achieved in 25-26 of around £1.2 million higher than budget. So the use of that reserve is no longer required at that level. However, there are some planned growth in the business rate system for 26-27 that wasn't built into the 26-27 budget. That, together with renewable energy business rate growth, is estimated at around 300,000 to 400,000 for 26-27, and it will be proposed in the Q1 financial performance report that comes to members in September to place that money back into the collection fund reserve for business rates to mitigate any ongoing financial pressure and changes to business rate income levels. Therefore, members, with all the above changes I've outlined, we can positively show a net budget outturn surplus for 25-26 of 1.23 million, and the proposed reserve contributions and movements between reserves to create the balances we intended to at the draft outturn stage. This provides protection against future budget risks and enables this council to proactively reduce the medium-term financial pressure for 27-28 onwards. Yeah, that covers the key headlines. I'm happy to take any questions, and I'll shortly be looking to seek a mover and seconder to adopt the recommendations in the updated committee report. I'm happy to take any questions first, Chair.
Thanks for having me. Councillor.
Very quickly, a curious question, I think. In one of the appendices, you mentioned the fact that the waste and recycling teams have been much happier because they've now got a task and finish as part of their contract. Just a quick concern, just think what happened to Birmingham. Is that perceived as a benefit? Because I'm conscious that most of the waste and recycling teams, I'm imagining, in a misogynistic way, are probably blokes. And you've got this thing that if there's a perception that men are being given a thing, but it's cost Birmingham millions, and there's another council now being sued for millions, isn't there? It's a very small thing. I mean, tapping home means you go home early, but there might be a benefit. I merely toss it in as something to worry about.
It's something that has been looked at, and with equal pay claims that you need, you obviously need two comparators, if you like, and the comparators that we've used indicate that we don't have that particular issue.
Okay.
It might be an issue going through into local government reorganisation. So it has been flagged up as a risk potential through that because there'll be different comparators. Yeah.
Thank you, Councillor Lang, please.
Chairman, I see that the LGR's going to give over 900,000. I think they mentioned 150 on top. I'm just wondering, how does the local authority need to set aside £1 million on top of that figure going forward? I'm just wondering if we're trying to save money somewhere on the line, with other authorities also saving some, putting it in towards it, do we need to reserve that sum of money?
At this stage, we feel it's appropriate to set the money aside. It's not allocated to the unitary council, so it's our reserve. So it's there if we need it. If it's not needed, it will be redirected back into other reserves. So it can be taken from the LGR reserve back into other general reserves if we want to. The figure that was estimated at the outset was for each district council to set aside around £1 million, which is why we went for that target. And I'm pleased to report that we're able to do it earlier than waiting till 27-28 to do it. Since then, the government obviously announced the 960,000 for each unitary authority. Sorry, 950,000 and a further 150,000. So just over £1 million for the reorganisational costs. That's to cover all of them. So obviously that divided by 8 or 9 councils or 7 or 8 councils for the reorganisation would obviously be a very small proportion of each district council's contribution. So it's important we've got an amount set aside. Otherwise, that would put budget pressure on whichever year those costs come forward. So I feel it's still appropriate we put £1 million aside. If we don't need £1 million and it's a figure shy of that, then obviously any money that's not needed will go back into other earmarked reserves. But it protects the authority moving forwards.
Thank you, Jim.
Thank you. Very conscious of the time. Councillor Coombs, are you going to just give a brief report from scrutiny?
Just to move the recommendation.
I'll second that in your second. Thank you. All those in favour? please show. Thank you. So we move on
I'll
to,
move the recommendation, that be.
sorry,
I'll move the second recommendation.
you move the second. Okay, right, all those in favour? Thank you.
Got the recommendations here, haven't we?
So, so we move.
Yeah, Chair, obviously the recommendations are A and B, and obviously as part of that, then it's obviously to seek a mover and seconder to adopt the recommendations in the updated committee report. So just for transparency, if we can have a mover and a seconder for the updated committee report and appendices.
Councillor Walker and Councillor Thompson have moved. All those in favour, please show. Thank you very much. So we move on to the annual Treasury Management Report.
Thank you, Chair. No changes to this report, members. I'm pleased to report. So the report's previously gone through scrutiny and policy on 2nd of July and strategy and resources on the 13th of July. Happy to take any questions if members have any. If not, then Chair will seek to move the second and move to item A, which was Councillor Coombs to report, but happy to take any questions.
Right. Yeah, Councillor Walker and Councillor Thompson again.
Chair, that's Councillor Coombs first, just for item A, just to move the recommendations in scrutiny and policy.
Move the recommendations.
Thank you. And Councillor Clayton for the other one, is it?
You've got to vote.
Yeah, so you had a proposal which was
Yeah,
Councillor
okay,
Walker.
but that's just for the first one. Okay,
Yeah.
those in favour, please show. Okay, thank you. Now the second one.
Part B.
You have part B. Okay, a seconder for that? Yeah, Councillor Rutty, all those in favour, please show. And now do we vote for the whole thing?
That's it, Chair, you've done that. Thank you.
Okay, fine.
Members.
Right, so we move on to the outside body appointment, which is number 17.
Chair, can I
Propose.
Not appoint, can I propose Councillor Caroline Lever?
Mr. Seconder, Councillor Walker, any other nominations? In that case, we have a vote, please. Those in favour, please show. Thank you, that's carried. Right, we come on to the minutes. Now, we do have wonderful people that have actually declared. Yeah, I was thinking that what sort of interest? Does it matter? Well, they've declared an interest. Okay, so those that have declared that interest may leave the room while we pass, hopefully, the rest. So I'm seeking a mover and seconder to approve and adopt all the minutes.
Chair, so just a quick, sorry, just a quick point of clarification. So I think you're moving every, en bloc, save for
Except this one.
that one item. So Councillor P, please, if it could remain for that and then leave for that one bit. So it was just the strategy and resources.
Don't go for a second. Are you happy that we move the whole lot with the exception of item 18H, 1138, basically? Are you all in favour of that? Thank you. Right, now, if Councillor Lever, Peter Lever would like to leave the room. Okay. If we like to leave, then we can vote for the last one.
Why do they get to go home?
I've got a clerical conflict of interest.
Conflict of interest, my bed's.
So I'm seeking a mover now for the minute that we've, yes, Councillor Clayton and Orange. All those in favour, please show. In that case, that's carried. Can I thank everyone for their patience tonight and wish you a safe journey home. Thank you very much.